Hey guys, it's Q&A Tuesday. I'm going to start off with one from a gentleman by the name of Albert. Greetings from Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. Love your show and always look forward to the next release. Because of the pandemic, I'm working at home, and your show is the only way I know that it's Tuesday or Thursday. Thank you. I have a question about premium prices on watches that have been owned by celebrities or have somehow been connected to one. Are they worth the premium? Recently, I had the opportunity to bid on Sotheby's auction for 2014 Rolex Milgauss model 116400. The watch is being marketed as a gift from Robert Downey Jr. to his crew upon completion of his 2014 film entitled The Judge. On the back of the watch is engraved The Judge 2014 Team Downey #1. Evidently, the watch, which was a gift, is now being sold by the auction house. My question is, does something like this add any value to the watch? It's being sold at a premium, but is it better as a long-term investment to just buy the new Milgauss at MSRP, which in case is cheaper? A second part of the question is there's no provenance provided aside from the word of the auction. There's not even a box or warranty card which would affect the future sale. Is the paperwork provided by a reputable auction house as good as normal box and papers? It's hard not to be tempted by the coolness factor, but is it really worth it? Told you guys before, I love when you have answers within your own questions, right? It's hard not to be tempted by the cool factor, especially if you happen to be a Robert Downey Jr. fan, or a fan of a particular movie, or a fan of a particular race team, soccer team, blah, 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 right? Well, here's where the issue comes in. First of all, this thing is engraved in the back. Today's day and age of technology, I can take any Milgauss and I can engrave exactly the same thing on that Rolex and actually claim it to be one of those Rolexes that was given to him. In fact, I'm pretty sure there will be a couple of people that will copy that very Rolex as soon as they see that auction results and try to pass it off as such.
I have a lot of questions. Number one, how dare you?
If the auction says that, A, this was given to them, the only way they would probably verify it is to see it was obviously one of the employees there that did work on the set of Judge and said, hey, I got this watch. Still doesn't stop that particular individual from getting that engraved in the back of a regular Milgauss and putting it in. I talked in the past about Rolexes that are engraved in the back, like my Sky Dweller Blue. Those things do have a provenance. That provenance is on the card itself, right? For example, the Rolexes from Oman, they have the Sultan of Oman stamped on a warranty card because those watches were directly shipped there, right? Something like this, again, your provenance is what the auction house says. But even still, yes, you can match it up by serial number, you can get some sort of a letter, blah, 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 but it won't sing with most collectors. So I don't think that's a good buy. Now, here's the reason behind it. Now, let's talk about celebrities and watches in general, right? It really depends on a celebrity. And I'm going to make it as simple as possible. The only way the watch is worth more in a case where it's tied to a celebrity, where the collectability of the items owned by the celebrity outweigh the collectability or future collectability of the watch. Meaning, there was Jackie Kennedy's Cartier tank watch was sold off for like $150,000. Normally it's a $1,500 watch, right? Well, Jackie Kennedy, collectability of her items, be it a watch, a dress, or whatever it might be, will by far more outweigh the collectability of that Cartier tank. In fact, it's not even collectible. Certain Omegas owned by Kennedy, or things that were owned by Elvis Presley. And even then it gets hairy because a lot of these celebrities, like Elvis Presley, they owned a lot of things, right? They owned a lot of watches, right? So then you get into a position where, hey, this is the watch that he wore on the daily, and you see him in that watch in multiple videos, concerts that he may have put on, photographs, et cetera, right? At the end of the day, that stuff still doesn't make a whole lot of difference when it comes to value. It definitely has the cool factor, but it doesn't make a whole lot of difference in terms of the value of the watch. When the celebrity himself, to which an item is tied to, be it a watch, outweighs the collectability of the watch itself, that's when it makes sense. In cases like this, I'm afraid it does not, and you are better off buying just a new Milgauss at MSRP. Hope that answers your question. The next question comes from a gentleman whose initials are AG. Hey, Roman, hope all is well. I have a quick question. I've just started a little side job just to get by medical school. I've always loved watches, but never had any extra money to get me one myself. Now that I have started this small watch business, now I can make a business and wear awesome watches at the same time. So I'm a bit new to this game, so excuse my mindless question. My question is, once I sell a watch, do I put away my gains and reinvest what I originally invested? For instance, I bought a $1,000 watch and sold it for $1,200, so I put away my $200 and invest the same watch price carrier. Or do I reinvest $1,200 in a higher quality watch? These are basically the same things gains-wise, but what would be best strategy? Any tips? Thanks, Roman. Keep up the great work. Love your content. Cheers. Thanks, AG. This is not a question about a watch business. This is a question about every business. And I'll tell you my opinion, whether or not some of you finance gurus would agree with me. But once you start making money, you need to pay yourself. A lot of people that run a solo business, which was me when I started out of my basement, I was by myself, right? Let's say you make $500 a week. Well, out of that $500 a week, you have X amount of expenses, right? Be it rent, be it the light bill, be it the cell phone bill, internet bill, whatever it may have been. I didn't have a whole lot of expenses. But from day one, when I opened up my business, the very first thing I started doing is I started paying myself. And that became part of my regular expense. And that's how I feel a business should be ran. Out of that $200, you have to figure out a percentage of profits that you pay back to yourself, right? So if you only made $200 and that percentage is 10% or 15% of whatever it is that you make, that's the money you pay yourself. And this is the way I always felt, where you keep your business separate from your personal, right? Personal is personal, business is business. And the more successful your business goes, the more your salary goes, right? So if my original salary, I was giving myself $500 a week, let's say. Yes, the business made money, the profit stayed in the business, right? And what you do with that profit is completely irrelevant, whether you go up a watch or down a watch. I don't think it's about that. It's about buying the right watch where you can make money. And if you have the ability to go up, yes, you will make more money, or sometimes not. It's really about buying right. So whether or not you go up on a higher echelon watch with that extra money is irrelevant to this conversation. What is relevant is, at the end of the day, you should continually pay yourself. And then as you pay yourself, then you handle that on a personal level. Put an X percentage in savings, use an X percentage to get you by medical school, et cetera, et cetera. So the best advice I can give you, the best strategy I can give you, is more from a financial business perspective rather than buying watches perspective. Because yes, if there is an opportunity for you to go out there and buy a really, really good buy, you can always go back and dip into your personal savings. Let's say you flipped a few watches over time and you managed to put away 10% of that profit or 20% of that profit away as your own pay. And you collected up, $10,000, $20,000. Now all of a sudden an opportunity comes to buy a watch, but your business doesn't have enough money. So you take $10,000 from your personal, you put it into the business. But at that point, once that watch sells, you take that $10,000 and put it right back, right? This is how it should work, and I hope that makes a little bit of sense. Next question is from Carlos. Good afternoon, Roman. I follow you on YouTube. I just watched your latest video relating to the current market pricing status. I'm not a wealthy man, but I do enjoy buying used timepieces. As a result, I have a small and very modest collection. I would love to have your opinion on two things. I would love to add a tourbillon watch to my collection, but they're stupid, crazy expensive. However, the other day I learned about Era, and they have Prometheus model that is a true tourbillon movement. What is your opinion of the watch? And should I go with the automatic or the manual? A couple of years back, I purchased an 18-karat rose gold Parallel Model 3001 chrono. I would love to get your opinion of this watch. Please don't hold back. I'm on the fence if I should try to flip it and move on. I have around 4,200 in it, but it's tough to gauge value today because I can't find any sales history. I don't even know if there's a market for this watch. It's very hard to even see any movement on the line for them. So I don't know if I have a winner or a lemon in my collection. Your insights would be greatly appreciated. I thought I could end my email with my collection currently looks like, so you can understand where I'm coming from. I can only work hard and hope one day I could do business in your league. My dream would be one day to get my hands on a Rolex stainless steel Daytona with a black face and ceramic bezel. That's my goal. So the guy has a deep sea Dweller model 11660, Rolex Submariner two-tone blue face pre-ceramic dial, a Cartier stainless steel Roadster black face, a Parallel 18-karat rose gold model 3001, which he just mentioned, a Panerai stainless steel GMT, about 3 other Porsche design Chrono titanium watches. Not too shabby of a collection. It's not modest at all. This is a hell of a collection. I think your collection is probably bigger than average.
Nice. Nice.
I hope one day I could do business in your league. I told you guys numerous times, we'll sell watches from $100 all the way out to $1 million. So I play in all leagues, right? So I guess don't make me out to be this big badass.
We've got a badass over here.
I know I show a lot of expensive things on YouTube, but that's because I want to show those things, because some of those things is something you guys often don't get to see. But for the most part, I play in every league. On to the bad news, Parallel. Parallel, notoriously a closeout brand, right? I was just offered a closeout of Parallels. I don't know what the retail on a Parallel Model 3001 is. Let's see. Maybe I can find one real quick. So the big date looks like its original price was, hold on. Yeah, last known retail price was $18,000. You own that watch, you said, at $4,200, divided by 17.9 to be exact. So you own that watch at about 25 cents on a dollar, which is what they're out there trading for, brand new dealer to dealer. So you bought it at a decent price. The problem is it's very hard to sell because it's notoriously known for really not holding value because of the constant closeouts that are there. So if you could flip this, by all means flip it. I see no reason of holding on to it unless you like it, wear it, and enjoy it. Again, there's always that. Now, Era. era watches, right? Now, the story is that the owner raised $1.5 million in order to create this watch company. I'm not going to get into the details. I'm sure you can find all that stuff on their website. And he then went on to create an affordable tourbillon. I also don't know how much the Prometheus tourbillon goes for. That was their first model. I'm assuming it's cheap enough to where it's affordable to everyone. And what is this? This is another company where they make their movements in Asia. Now, unlike when I reviewed Aventi watches, there's a little but with these guys, right? Aventi watches never hid the fact that they make their movements in Asia. They're high quality movements made in Asia, but they never really masqueraded that fact. In fact, they were very upfront about it. They said, hey, this is what we make, et cetera, et cetera. Doesn't make it a bad watch. In their case, it was still an affordable tourbillon, now with a crystal case, which is very, I don't know who came first, Aventi or Era. But the story is very, very similar. I actually went on their website and I read one of the frequently asked questions. Where is the watch movement made? Our timepieces are sourced from multiple different regions in the Far East, and all the parts eventually arrive at a boutique horological institute that has been making high-end movements since 1972 and has over 700 people dedicated to that task. And in the end, they are regulated down to plus minus 10 seconds, and in some cases plus minus 5 seconds, which means it performs on par with any entry-level tourbillon on the market. Bruh.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, not buying that, right? I would rather just say, look, we take Asian movements, Asian tourbillons, we'll put them together in a factory somewhere in Asia, which is most likely where that's done. Again, sort of masking the same thing that Aventi, for example, when Adam flat out said, their owners were on the video with me, if you guys didn't see that, and they flat out said that they're not ashamed of it, and hence the price. So let's go back to your question, and that question is, what is my opinion on the watch? Well, on the watch itself, I can't tell you. I've never handled one, I've never bought one, I've never sold one, right? But what I can tell you is, in regards to these type of companies that popped up and disappeared and popped up and disappeared, et cetera, is that when you buy that watch, in the eyes of a dealer, and I hate to be very frank with you, there is no value. Because I don't see these watches actively trading wholesale. I don't see any of my wholesale chats. I don't see them at the trade shows. I don't really see them on the internet. Again, not that I've looked for them, right? $1,000 tourbillon, what are you really getting? The plus minus 10 seconds? That shouldn't be. Any major Swiss manufacturer will not tolerate plus minus 10 seconds, even 5 seconds on a tourbillon watch. The whole point of the tourbillon watch is for the watch to be a lot more accurate, right? You're gonna buy this watch and it's gonna be worth this. Because if you're just going to go out and buy for the sake of having a tourbillon, you did it. You're going to have a tourbillon. But you're going to have a tourbillon that has no value. If this thing trades for $1,000, I think that's the retail price on this thing, right? I think that's what they sell it for. Once you put it on your wrist, it's going to be worth zero. It's sort of like Invicta, right? When you buy, people are collecting Invictas and they're buying all these Invictas. There's nothing wrong with it. If you like it, wear it, enjoy it. But just keep in mind that, again, it's just not going to be worth a whole lot. But as far as affordable tourbillons, there are plenty of options out there based on your collection and based on the amount of money you've already spent on watches and the amount of money looks like you're willing to spend on watches. My advice to you is wait a little bit. I did plenty of episodes where I showed tourbillons at smoking deals, right? Brigade Turbs for $30,000, $35,000. I've showed tourbillons under $20,000 from names like Girard Perregaux. Yeah, not the most popular thing, but I'd rather you pick up a Girard Perregaux tourbillon for around $20,000 somewhere pre-owned, which you can, or an IWC tourbillon. In the very least, I know you're going to get quality, and I know you're going to get a good watch. So if you want to have a tourbillon and spend $1,000 on it, consider it as the same as buying a fancy pair of shoes. You're going to wear it, you're going to enjoy it, they're going to look good, and after a while, you're just going to throw them away. And that's really what that watch would be to me. If you guys are watching this, I'm not by all means giving an opinion on your watches. I don't have any opinion on your watches. I don't have any. If you want to send me one, I'll gladly look at it and then I'll give an opinion. I am talking about watches such as Era in general. Those cheaper, non-Swiss made tourbillons that you get seemingly at a smoking deal. It's a great looking watch. That I can tell you. I mean, for $1,000, that's a great looking watch. But in general, this is what you're going to find yourself with. So I hope this sheds a little bit of light into that topic. Here's a submission from a gentleman by the name of Clive, who's been a long, long time viewer of mine. He's been with me from the very beginning. Clive, big shout out to you for sticking around from the very beginning. Hey Roman, I hope you and everyone at Luxury Bazaar are healthy. I recently read on Tim Moso's Facebook page a question where your name appears in the comments. Some guy was selling a Patek, which he values at $100K, and a great dealer offered him $70-75, which he felt was lowballing him. Martha thought this price was okay, while others commented that the dealer's margins were way too high. I know from following you from the beginning that you were totally honest and transparent with your margins, but others commented that you were being false about these numbers. So I wonder if you could explain to everyone what's involved in buying pre-owned pieces from the public and shed some light into the hidden costs involved, like taxes, shipping, servicing, polishing, new strap, etc. I know you've discussed some of these issues in the past, and maybe it's time to refresh others' opinion. I love your channel and greatly value your unbiased opinion. Thanks for always answering my question and responding to my comments. Keep safe and stay healthy. Kind regards, Clive. I attached some screenshots for your aid in response. Subject to, it was a 3712 paddock, which is a pretty rare paddock. And the offer from Watchfinder, which is in England, subject to inspection, our initial offer is between 70,000 and 75,000 pounds. This estimate is valid for 7 days. In order for us to make you a final offer, we'll need you to send the watch, blah, 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 blah. All right, and then talking time with Tim Mimoso. There's nothing unusual there. It's a retailer buying something at a wholesale price prior to resale. If the watch sells used for 100,000, a collector might pay you that, but a vendor would not. The vendor doesn't keep the watch and isn't an end user. Also, a commercial vendor has a profit target, and paying, say, 90,000 for a $100,000 watch makes no sense when the same 90,000 could be spent buying dozens of Omega Seamasters, reselling them individually at 20% margins, and ultimately netting more than 90,000 if you were to spend it on a Nautilus. I'm so glad you're honest. The likes of Paul Thorpe and Roman Sharf insisting they only make 10% on watches they buy, they sell, just isn't true. Tim Mosso, they are wacky if they think that anyone believes that this is their real margin on used watches. Margins rise and fall depending on a million factors, but nobody in the pre-owned market to make $300 pop on old Seamasters and Super Oceans, and I can't imagine a high-end dealer accepting $2.5 grand as an end profit for a used overseas chrono. I don't feel like I need to defend myself specifically from Tim. Tim is a personality on a show. Tim used to work for my buddy OJ at Watcher One, and then he was inherited by Watchbox, with whom I have a really good relationship with. You guys have seen me on their show. But I will say this, and I'm not gonna even say it in my defense. I don't think Tim is in a position to talk about this stuff because Tim is not involved in buying, he's not involved in selling. He is a personality on YouTube and a walking encyclopedia of watches. I will not even remotely try to compare myself to Tim Mosso's knowledge in the watch industry, especially when it comes to the nuts and bolts. He's a super geek champion when it comes to watches and knows a whole lot of things I could learn from him. In fact, he's somebody I would reach out to for advice on certain things if I wasn't sure on something, right? But now we're talking about the business end of things. There's an entire video, and I'm gonna have Ian link that below. Make sure you watch that video, where I go into details dollar by dollar as to why I offered somebody $12,000 on a Panerai that they saw online for $20,000, and seemingly that's okay. Rather than repeating that entire video, I'm gonna do something and be very transparent, because that's what I am. I'm gonna go into QuickBooks and I'm gonna say reports, sales, by item summary. So let me pull up this report and let me go year to date just so you guys get a decent, clear picture, right? I'm not gonna show you how much money I made, but I will show you the final margins, right? So what you're about to look at is a live look at my books, right? Can't really make this up, right? I wouldn't go through the time to Photoshop this nonsense. So just so you get an idea of what that looks like, is I'm going to scroll up. So it kind of goes by brand, right? So Ulysses, and I'm at the end, there's Ulysses Nardine, and it's going to get into Van Cleef, Vacheron, and then it's going to get to Zenith, and then finally you have this little thing that says total watches. Now this total watches, if I scroll over to the right, is going to show you that it was sold 24,889 units. You're going to say, wow, Roman, that's a lot of units. Now I'm going to skip by the actual profit margins. See that? That's 8.9% on watches. So if you guys think that we're lying to you, that we're making more than 10%, at the end of the day, it averages out. Now I can scroll up where you're going to see more than usual margins. You're going to see things like 18, 21% margins, 26% margins, right? Then you're going to see margins like 6%, and some 0%, right? You guys say, oh, sometimes we make money on everything. We don't. Sometimes we lose, right? So you're going to see a 1.2% margin, a 0.5% margin. So all these things, at the end of the day, when I scroll back down, will average out to 8.9%. Now, the 11.9 that you see on the screen is actually total limited jewelry and all those things included. Now, where you see abnormal margins, you see it on the cheaper stuff, but not Omegas, like Tim mentioned, but things like Nixon's and Adidas watches and Citizens, I hate to call them lower end, but cheaper end goods that we sell as well, right? But for the most part, on regular watches, this is where those margins lie, which is why to make any real money, you got to do 100 million plus in business, which is what we strive to do. All my clients that know us, they know the margins that we make. We know that every single one of my repeat clients strives on the fact that they can always get a better deal for us, which is why over 54% of our watch business is return clients, which is huge. And this isn't about a conversation of Watchbox against Luxury Bazaar. For that means
Have everybody's attention, please. Please come to the second floor kitchen to celebrate Michael's birthday. Everyone, please, to the second floor kitchen. Thank you.
Good pick to do it.
This is for those, whoever the user is on that board. This isn't even against Tim. I think Tim is a great guy. But this is against whoever that user was that said, oh, they're lying to you. You have to understand something, and watch the other video, I urge you. It's a question of economics. Because bottom line is that if I'm buying a very expensive watch, I want to buy it slightly cheaper because it may take me longer to sell it. So therefore, I have to make a higher margin because now I'm investing $100,000. At the same time, if it's a popular watch, I'm okay making 5% on it just the same because I'll sell it quicker. Odds are, really popular stuff moves fast. But if something is unpopular, yes, I will show you watches where I made a 50% margin, but it took me 9 months to do so. But at the end, I just showed you real numbers. You see what that stuff averages out to. If you think we're out here getting rich off of you guys, we're not. You know when that was a possibility? When I first started out. In today's day and age of eBay, Chrono24, all the flashlights, all the Amazons, and all those things out there, and the amount of competition that's out there because everybody wants to be a watch flipper now, the margins are slowly but surely dwindling down. So whoever this person is, don't get it twisted if you think that we're making 20 to 30% margins. And Tim, much respect to you in regards to reviewing watches. You're welcome to stop by my office and I'll show you my books just the same. So I hope you guys enjoy that as well. This is a very philosophical question. I actually read it before answering because it's pretty long. It caught my eye. Roman, greetings again from Singapore. This is my second submission. I hope that you and your family and business are doing incredibly well. It's almost been a year since I started watching your channel. I can't thank you enough for the incredible contact. Thank you. I'm asking for advice. My late great-grandfather was a collector. He loved collecting antiques, but his time came to leave us all in 2015. He didn't have much to pass down to my sister and I, as he sold most of his finest items. I have a couple of things to remember him by, but these heirlooms have never allowed me to truly connect with him. Me, I used to collect vinyl, 15,000 albums and 12-inch records in storage in Scotland. So from my father to me, this collecting gene has passed down. When I closed a few large property deals in 06, we traveled to Barbados for a vacation there. I picked up a Breitling Montbrilliant Datura as my first proper watch. My wife loves the watch and so do I. After establishing ourselves in Singapore and winning a few awards for my previous role in finance, I bought my second watch, a Rolex Milgauss Z Blue. Shout out to the team at Rolex Boutique, the Hourglass. I absolutely love the watch, but my wife was slightly underwhelmed as she started to notice my growing obsession. This year, after much research from your channel, I decided to buy Rolex Skydweller Blueface. Man, I love this watch. This piece will always remind me of 2020 and how tough of a year it's been for all of us. It would also remind me as to why I work so hard of the sacrifices we have made. I believe that not all watches need to be bought to mark an achievement. Here's the things that started to get interesting. My wife, wow, after giving me thumbs up and go and buy a watch, she went a little crazy. A lot of crazy, in fact. She said, how much? Seriously? A bunch of asterisks, some Scottish expletives thrown in there. It's just a watch. I ended up sleeping in a spare room for the next 2 weeks. Fair to say she does not share the same passion for watches as I do. So my first question is, how do I encourage my wife to share my love for horology? And also, sorry to ask you personal questions, but has your wife always been passionate about watches? After some reflection and making the decision to keep my Skydweller, I realized that this very small gathering of timepieces have a far deeper meaning to me. One watch has become two, and two have now become three, i.e. a collection. Feels good to be back in the game. My dad would be proud. I've also realized that these watches, to which I truly love, investment or not, are part of my life and my decisions, and that one day I hope to pass this collection down to my son so that he can hopefully connect with me when he wears them. I already have an eye on my next few editions. So many watches, not enough time, excuse the pun. So this is where I need your advice. Do I keep collecting, keep doing what I love, and eventually pass these pieces down to my son in many years to come? Or do I stop the obsession, keep my wife happy, stay happily married, and avoid the spare room? Over to you, Roman. Thanks for your advice, Geoff. P.S. My wife is awesome. So, Geoff, you spend some time on the couch. I can certainly relate to that. For those of you guys that are out there married, I'm sure some of you have spent some time on the couch for one reason or the other. This is a no-brainer question, obviously. I'm fairly certain you're going to choose your wife over a watch passion, right? And I would certainly urge you to do so because nothing is more important than the family to me. And I'm sure the same goes for you. But there is a happy medium there. My wife has an idea but doesn't what, you know, my gun collecting passion costs, right? She knows these things are not cheap, but she doesn't really have an exact number. But nevertheless, there has to be a conscious budget set for all these things. And this is how I would deal with this. And that is to come to your wife, and I'm sure you already have, and tell her, look, I'm really hooked on watches. I really like these watches. You can, don't tell her these things are an investment, which is what most men will say is, hey, these things are money in the bank. They're a good investment. Not a good approach. You can explain to them that throughout time, certain brands like Rolexes do go up in value, but there's no guarantees. At the same token, you can explain to your significant other to say that, look, Worst case scenario, and you wouldn't be lying in this case, is that if you buy a watch, it'll go down 20, maybe 30%. So if you spend 10 grand or something, at the very least you have $7,000 as money in the bank, which you can sell anytime, because what you have is indeed liquid, right? Especially if you're talking about a Skydweller. If you bought that at retail, you're up about $7,000, $8,000, if not more. So you can share that aspect with your wife. At the same token, if you find yourself in a position where a watch that you've bought and you seldomly wear or went up price tremendously, you sell off and you show, hey, I just made a $7,000 profit, which I'm going to put towards the next watch. That's another good way of doing it. But keeping them aware of what's going on so that they're not sticker shocked at the end is probably the best way to go. And it's pretty simple. I'm sure every family budgets, right? And you can always say, look, if this is my passion, this is what I have on my radar, this is what I'm looking to buy, it's going to require X amount of thousands of dollars, right? Let's say it's going to require $10,000. If you receive a bonus at work, or you do some kind of a deal where you make a nice chunk of change at the same time, you can take some of that away and say, like, this is going to go into my watch fund, this is going to go into the other fund, and just prioritize. And as long as you show that, hey, this is your passion, this is what I want to spend money on, but you don't prioritize it over everything else, I don't think you'll be spending much more time on the couch. But I love the story, Jeff. Thanks for submitting that. It's a really, really cool real life story. And I'm sure this is a story that a lot of guys out there that are watching this channel could certainly relate to. Appreciate the submission. Guys, that's it for me for today. I want to thank you once again for tuning in. Remember, email your questions, romansharf@luxurybazaar.com, which is what makes this show possible. Thanks for sticking around. Hit the like button, subscribe button, the share button to share this content with those that may enjoy what you are watching, because this is what helps my channel grow organically. And I'll see you guys next Tuesday.